Good evening, and I'd like to welcome you and call to order our Lucan Biddulph Council meeting for Tuesday, June the 3rd. I would like to acknowledge that I'm an ally of Indigenous peoples. The township of Lucan Biddulph is located on the treaty and traditional territory and ancestral lands of many Indigenous peoples and is covered by several Upper Canada treaties. We honor and respect the history, languages, and cultures of the diverse Indigenous peoples who call Lucan Biddulph home. We endeavor to unlearn colonial mindsets and practices and to grow in knowledge. As we build meaningful relationships, we recognize contributions of Indigenous peoples and respect their leadership and partnership in shaping and strengthening our community. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. So June 2nd to 8th is Local Food Week in Ontario. This week is an opportunity to celebrate and promote Ontario farmers while also recognizing the important role of food processors, restaurants, retail, and others across the local food supply chain that contribute to the success of the province's agricultural and food industry. In Ontario, farmers produce more than 200 different commodities. This generates 871,000 jobs and supports a nearly $51 billion agriculture and food sector in Ontario. We know that Middlesex County is a hub of agricultural activity, with agribusinesses making up over a quarter of all enterprises in our area. These businesses generate a remarkable $552 million worth of goods annually. And this sector ensures a diverse and plentiful supply of local food. This is because of the dedication and hard work of our local farms. Their efforts not only sustain the local economy, but also provide us with fresh, high-quality produce to enjoy. Now more than ever, I would encourage residents this week and every week to really support local farmers and businesses by purchasing foods from Ontario. And it's easy to do so. All you have to do is look for the Foodland Ontario logo. June is National Indigenous History Month in Canada, and it's an opportunity to learn about the unique cultures, traditions, and experiences of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in Canada. It's a time to honor the stories, achievements, and resilience of Indigenous peoples who have lived on this land since time immemorial, and whose presence continues to impact an ever-evolving Canada. Typically, we think of September when we think about how we can recognize and discover the cultures, histories, and traditions of our Indigenous neighbors. June reminds us that our reconciliation journey is one that is always ongoing. One easy way you can learn about Indigenous peoples in Canada, key historical events, and reconciliation initiatives that you can implement in your life is by downloading the Reconciliation, a Starting Point app onto your smart device. This is a product that is a partnership between the Canada School of Public Service and the Department of National Defence, and it has lots of resources that can guide you through your reconciliation journey. So we do not have to go into closed session, and we do not have any public meetings, but we do have a couple of delegations tonight. And at this point, I'm going to ask Paul Sherbin from Aqua to come up and join us and share with us the first quarter reports for the Lucan Biddulph wastewater treatment plant and, of course, the Granton RBC. So welcome, Paul.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council and municipal. Tonight, I'm presenting the first quarter of the 2025 Lucan Biddulph operations report for wastewater. To date, in 2025, the Lucan Water Pollution Control Plant and the Granton Wastewater Treatment Plant have performed well. There have been no spills, bypasses, overflows, or non-compliances reported in the first quarter. The Lucan plant is currently at 103% of its rated capacity. There were 42 days in the first quarter of the 2025 where the raw flow exceeded the ECA capacity of 1,700 cubic meters a day. There were no days where the plant was outside normal operation conditions. The Granton plant is currently at 48% of its rated capacity. There have been 6 days in 2025 where the raw flow exceeded the capacity of 270 cubic meters a day. The Granton ECA does not require additional sampling. The objectives for TSS were not met in January, nor the pH in February. However, the remainder of the objectives, the limits were met during the first quarter. For maintenance and capital activities, we rebuilt a backwash pump, installed a sludge transfer pump, and also we hauled sludge from Bartels. They took it to Greenway in London because we were unable to land apply. We also did a mock test of the generator for the energy demand response event. For alarms, we've only received 3 alarms in the first quarter for Lucan. One was for high level, the wet well due to snow melt, a blower failure, and a door alarm. And we've had no alarms for Granton. We've received no community complaints. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, that's great, Paul. Questions or comments on the report that we just received? Councillor Westman.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a question about fats, oils and grease. Has there been any improvement or change in that?
It's been pretty steady. It hasn't changed much. We've been keeping an eye on the bioactor. It's not, the built up isn't as much. We are working with some of the chemicals to help with that.
Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Manders and then Councillor Rick.
Just we always discuss about the capacity of the plant, so I don't want to bring that up. What I more want to, find out what your thoughts are. And again, I think, and Ron maybe would know best, or Jeff, like we have, when I see a reaching capacity at different times of the quarter, just I think we have 300 more units or to grow yet under the existing plant. So my question is more as operators, does that concern you at all, or not really, with what we're telling the public and our developers with what they can proceed with and what's going on?
Yeah, the flows kind of go up and down in each quarter. So you'll see it next quarter, it might be a lot lower. So it hasn't been to the extreme where we've had to do anything out of the ordinary, but it seems to be working fine at this time.
Yeah, that really wasn't my question. So I guess trying to put your vision goggles on a bit is just, realizing that current plan is still, our expectations are that again, the staff would know best. I'm going to throw 300 more units. We call it out there, which might be 1.5 baths. I don't know what that looks like, but exactly. But I guess that's, I guess my comment again is, your 3-year outlook of sitting here in 3 years and saying what you're saying today, and we have a full build out, full capacity. Any concerns?
No, I don't know how much more capacity you're gonna have to build more, but I think it's working at the limits now. So I think we've reached the limits where we wouldn't want to go too much further.
Councillor Regan.
Thank you. So there is a term here that I've just never seen before. Just on page 4, it says that you contacted Courtney Bacon due to a dream report. I've never seen that term before. What is that?
What report, sorry?
It says dream report, and I've just never seen that term before. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I have to ask the PTCs that one. I'll check into that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just.
Good question.
All right. No, thank you. I wasn't sure. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I just wondered, Paul, under the Granton wastewater treatment plant, it says the objectives for TSS were not met, nor the pH in February, everything else was. But then it goes on to say that the design limitations result in challenges in meeting the TSS objective. And I guess, we've always had issues balancing everything at that particular plant. But again, is that something that we should be red flagged about? We should be concerned?
So no, at the moment we did put in chemical pacing dosing for that, and we've been just working with the chemicals, trying to go back and forth to get it where it works better. But yeah, we just been going back and forth on it.
Okay, great. All right. Any other final call for questions or comments? All right, that's it. Then thank you, Paul, for coming. Thank you too for coming, Susan.
you.
And I guess we'll see you in a couple months. Okay, great. Have a great evening. Can I get a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information? Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Westman. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks. Okay, next up is Christine Scrimshore. And Christine's already made her way to the speaker's desk, so thank you. And Christine's here in a capacity as our auditor to walk us through the 2024 draft financial statements. So welcome, Christine. It's always great to see you in person, and I'll hand it over to you.
All right, thank you. This is on, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. So we have the draft financial statements before you for the year ended December 31st, 2024. I'll go through my spiel like I normally do. Please don't hesitate to stop me, ask me questions, and hopefully I've got my trusted computer here. So hopefully we'll be able to answer those questions. It is draft, as you know, until council approves them. They have to be in draft format until those charged with governance, which would obviously be this council, gets them approved, and then we will file the 2024 FIR, which is due at the province by the end of September, but we try and get it in before then. So we'll work on that once we get these financial statements approved. So they are dated as of today's date. It is a clean auditor's opinion, which means that I did not find anything materially incorrect in the working papers that were provided for me. I will comment that your records are in good hands. I'm going to give a shout out to the treasurer, who I know does not appreciate me doing this, but the journal entries are almost all revolve around PSAB, which is getting the capital assets on the balance sheet. As you know, you budget them on a cash flow basis, and then we get them on the balance sheet and amortize them. And so those are the majority of the journal entries that happen each year. And other than that, there's very little. So that's a reflection on your treasurer and the good work that she does. All right, we'll move forward to the balance sheet. She's red. No, just kidding. Sorry. All right.
It's too bad the camera couldn't pick
Yeah,
that up.
exactly. Anyway, so I'm just going to go down and highlight some of the big differences that I think council would be interested in. But if I'm not addressing the areas that you are concerned about, please let me know. So just kind of give you a little bit of a backdrop to this. You have been in a significant capitalization a couple of years, 3 years, both with the community center expansion, the soccer fields, the pool. So there's been a lot going on. And so we're just really, this is the last year of all those projects, 2024 being, and then 2025 finishing them up, as you're aware. And so much of the what's happened on this balance sheet is due to that capital, large amount of capital going on. So I always look at the line called net financial assets at about 3/4 of the way down the page. And you can see last year is about 2.2 million. This year it's 1.9. So about a $300,000 switch. I'm not concerned about that because we did take out the debt to finance the soccer field in 2024. And so that increased our debt at the end of the year. That was budgeted for, and now we'll start building up our reserves again now that we've got that all in place. Everything below that line, that non-financial assets, are assets that are required to provide the services you do. So roads, buildings, infrastructure, water, wastewater, all of those good things. So I'm always looking to see what has gone on there because I want to see a municipality reinvesting in their capital assets, and you certainly have been able to do that. Your net book value of your capital assets from 2023 to 2024 has increased about $3 million. Majority of that is the soccer fields, as I mentioned. And in the capital work in progress at the end of the year, those soccer fields are still there because they weren't completed until the year we're in now. The other piece of that is the Lucan wastewater treatment plant. About $1 million of capital was spent in 2024, and that obviously will get paid or finished out probably 2026, I'm guessing, by the time it gets done. But again, that's user pay, so that doesn't come out of the tax rate. So I'll remind you that that's paid out of the water wastewater rates. And then everything else, I don't have much else to say on the balance sheet unless there's any specific questions there.
Councillor Hodgins.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just near the top in the financial assets section, the taxes receivable, the difference between 2023 and 2024. Can you explain that?
Yeah, and I'm seeing this, and I do 12 municipalities, so I am seeing this, a lot of people back to work in 2024 and not paying their taxes as on time as they used to. We also had subs, like your rates increased, plus you had more subs in the year as well, so which are supplementary taxes that are outstanding at the end of the year. As I said, I'm seeing that trend in all of my municipal clients right now. I did do some testing of the subsequent payments to make sure, and then, and also, as you're aware, after 2 full years, you're allowed to start nudging them to pay and threatening tax sale, and that is being done by your staff. So that's kind of the safeguard that's there to get the people to pay on their taxes. But as I said, it's a trend I'm seeing in all my municipalities that the taxes receivable balance is increased. I'm not concerned on your collection process or the work that your staff are doing on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move over to the statement of income operations. So this has 3 columns here. The budget 2024, which is what council approves, your actual for 2024, and then compared to your actual for 2023. Again, I'm going to do a few high level explanations. So user charges. So really what I'm comparing is the budget 2024 that council approved versus the actual for 2024. And so in user charges, so again, remember back in 2023, we were still dealing with some COVID restrictions at the beginning of that year. This is the first full year that we really haven't had any COVID restrictions with regards to recreation, and that shows up in your recreation revenue. And we'll see it in the costs when we get down to the costs as well. And then investment income, obviously the rates in 2024 were significantly higher. And if you remember, interest rates in 2023 were at 1% at one point. So you had that increase in 2024. And then that penalty and interest. So to your point, you'll see the $114,000. So taxes receivable are 15% a year. So it's 1.25% a month. And that equates here to higher interest earned obviously on those taxes, and that is collectible obviously. So overall revenue, 11,360,000 versus 11,222 last year. And really the increase over budget is in those areas that I just mentioned, the user charges, the interest income, and then the penalty and interest. I think I said 1.25, it's 1.5, sorry. And then expenditures. So the budget does not include amortization. So your amortization for the year is 2.4 million. So if you added the 2.4 million to your budgeted expenditures, you would come very close to what the actual is in 2024. So we don't budget that 2.4 million of amortization, but it is in the actual. So then if I compare the actual 2024 to the actual 2023 and the expenditures, because it will have amortization as well, the one line that sticks out is recreation. And I'll remind you of all of those capital projects that I just mentioned, that we're all in that area. So the amortization for 2024 versus the amortization for 2023 for recreation was about $200,000. And then in addition, you had more expenses in the recreation area just because you have hydro costs and all those things when you have more ice time being rented out. So overall, I'm looking at that excess of revenue over expenditures before others. So 680,000 this year, 894,000 last year. And that's, I'm always looking for that to be a positive number because that means you're covering your operating costs with your operating revenues. Everything below that line are items that are one time. They fluctuate significantly from year to year because of capital and other areas. And so we like to see what the operations of the municipality are. And as I said there's a surplus there. And as I know you, as a council, approved the surplus going into tax rate stabilization, and it was $373,000 this year. So very much a break-even budget, really, in my opinion, because 373,000 on $11 million of revenue is pretty much made your budget very, very close. As I mentioned, the things under other are capital related, and I'll comment on a couple of them. One is the government transfers, so the decrease from last year, that amount in last year's was the ICIP grant that went towards the community center expansion, and so that obviously was a one-time thing. And then the developer and other contributions related to capital, that 1,000,007, that includes 1.2 million of assumed assets. So when a subdivision is completed, we assume their capital assets, and the majority of that is roads, water, wastewater. And so of that 1.7 million, 1.2 and change, and it's the old Clover. I can't read my own writing, that's bad. The old Clover sub, so there's two phases of that got assumed this year. So that's why we only budgeted 431,000 and there's 1.7 million. That's that 1.2 million that I just mentioned. Any questions on that? It's a high level again, and I'm happy to go into anything in more detail that you need. Okay, we'll continue. The next statement is your consolidated statement of cash flows. These are the increases and decreases of the non-cash items. And as you can see, the large dollar amounts really deal with the capital assets, as was mentioned before. The rest, and again, financing activities, we like to see debt repayments in that line, which would be in a bracket. And again, that's really just because we've been financing all of those capital projects. That will go in that direction next year when we start paying off that debt in excess of what we take out in new debt. Coming down to the cash and cash equivalents end of year. I will comment on this, and I've talked to your treasurer about this as well. Now that we're finalizing these projects, looking at an investment policy of our funds, we've got 10 million. I know we monitor what the bank is going to give us if we maintain a certain amount in the bank balance, but investigating other opportunities as well to earn as much interest as possible on your money. And then I'll go to the consolidated statement of change in net financial assets. And this really is just a snapshot of what's happened in capital. And you can see it's been significant. So the amortization, that's that increase of 200,000 that I mentioned about in the recreation area. And then our capital works in process. And then the acquisition of tangible capital assets. So that almost $5.4 million of new assets this year. It's a significant amount. And again, while maintaining, you still have that surplus in the operations, as I mentioned. You haven't depleted your reserves, as we'll see in a few minutes. We then get to the notes to the financial statements, and these are standard notes that you have each year. I'm just going to highlight a couple of them that I think is important to council. Note number 7 is your deferred revenue obligatory reserve funds. So these are reserve funds on top of what we will see in a minute in the other reserves. These are reserve funds that have stipulations as to how you can spend them, i.e. DCs, CCBF, what's the other one, and OCIF. So those are all grants. So council can't dictate how to change those amounts, that where you spend them, they have to be spent according to each one of those different provisions. And then we get to note number 9, which I think is the one council is most interested in. And this is where we see overall our reserves down about 200,000, but not a significant amount given that $5 million of capital that I mentioned already, of new capital. And they're broken down in by the types of reserves that we have. We also have reserve funds for fire capital. I'll remind you that we eliminate 49% of the one fire board because South Perth owns that amount of it. So you may have seen reports with more in fire reserve, and that's because the 49% would be added to that. This is after that 49% has been eliminated. And then we have 2 schedules at the back. One is the breakdown of capital for the year. And again, this is where you see the new additions. In addition to this, we had the new WIP as well, work in progress as well. So 4.3 million of new assets, and it's broken down by the type of asset. And then the last schedule is the segmented report, which takes this financial statement and puts it into the format that goes into the FIR, which is all by functions, and these are the functions across the top that the FIR gets broken down into. So we break this down here so that the province can do the segue between the two financial statements. And that is my report, unless anybody's got anything.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Christine. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Hodgins.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Christine, for the presentation and statements. I think it was on page 5 within the consolidated statement of cash flows where you mentioned investment income, or like what we do. We have cash available. And can you just maybe repeat what you said, or talking about having an investment policy, or what
Sure.
we're doing and what we could be doing?
So the Municipal Act stipulates what a municipality can and cannot invest in. So it's obviously very low risk type vehicles. And I know that your treasurer has looked at what she gets at the bank as far as interest goes, and monitors that to make sure, and you have to keep a certain balance in the bank in order to get that rate. There are other investment vehicles. There's other things you can look at as the one fund is one of those things. It's a investment vehicle that MFOA, which is the Municipal Finance Officers Association, offers, and it's a consolidated fund that many municipalities participate in. And there's lots of other different, you can also just get your own investment advisor, but you need to have someone who is obviously aware of what the Municipal Act allows and doesn't allow. There's been a hesitancy to do too much at this up until now because of all of the capital that's been going on and not getting. So for instance, you're always waiting for the debenture proceeds to come in. You're waiting for the ICIP grants to come in, right? You're always like funding them up front yourself and then getting the money in after the fact. Once these projects are all in place and you're never probably going to be on a total easy calm way, but for the most part, the large capital projects being completed, other than the wastewater treatment plant, which is still outstanding, obviously, but there's still room for some investment perhaps. And I'm not saying there is or there isn't. I think it's just something wise to do, is come up with an investment policy as to what you want to see your treasurer invest in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that you highlighted that. That was actually one of my questions, because I know we've had that discussion before about investment opportunities. So thank you for highlighting that. Councillor Regan.
Thank you. So for Christine or for staff, I'm just wondering, when we're looking at the reserves that are set aside, I'm just wondering, are we putting enough away? Should we be putting more, and where should we be putting it, considering what's coming up?
So that's $1 million question, really. But I think that, as I said, I mean, you're at a transition point right now where you can start socking away some money again once you get through these major projects. And I think that's the key to do that. You are a very fortunate municipality in that most of your infrastructure is relatively new, your larger items. And so obviously water, wastewater, I'm staying out of that because that's paid for by the rates. And so that's not something that comes up out through the tax rate itself. But again, that's an area that needs to be constantly monitored because there's just not any funding out there. And we all know that, as you're aware, the wastewater treatment plant budget for what it's going to cost to do that work is significant. And you are at a high growth area for sure. So just keep saving. I mean, it's no different than our own personal budgets. So, we need, the more children you have, the more you need to save, right? So it's kind of the same kind of idea.
Great, thank you. Actually, just more of a comment, but it would appear that we're being very financially responsible. That's what it says. So thank you. Thanks.
I might ask you, like, beyond our infrastructure and everything, what else do you kind of see that we should have our eye out for? I think that the municipality is going to be going through a number of changes, in a number of different areas over the next few years. And, with your auditing magic eye, what do you see that maybe we should
I will be honest, what I see is personnel shortage. So we have and I'm included in this. So I'm not talking out of school, but we have a large number of people that will be retiring, and not just in this municipality, but in municipalities in general over the next several years. And I don't see a lot of young, new people. For some reason, it's not, I will use this terminology, not a sexy career to go into necessarily. And so it doesn't seem to be talked about at the university level and those kinds of things. And so we're not seeing people, if you find good, young, smart people, grab them and keep them, because I've sat in on two very large municipalities treasurer, so they should be able to attract, quality people, and we got very few resumes in. So it's a concern, and like I said, I've sat in two just in the recent months, and yeah, it's when you find someone who is qualified and appears to be a good candidate, you grab them for sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, any last questions or comments? Just thank you for the work that you're doing, that you do for us, Christine. And I think we would all echo the comments that you made about Catherine earlier. Certainly, it's a relationship that has to work together. The easier the department makes it for you, obviously vice versa. So I just want to thank the team actually here for being able to support Christine in the work
Yeah,
that she does.
it's Catherine and her team, but she's a great leader too, and I remember when we hired her, and she didn't have the municipal experience, and she's done amazing. So yeah, you're very fortunate.
Great, thank you so much.
She's gonna pay me out.
All right, that's great. Thanks very much, Christine, for coming
Thank
in. Yeah. With that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to accept the draft financial statements as presented tonight. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Yep, good night. Okay, on to the minutes. We have the set of minutes in front of us from May 20th. If nothing needs to be amended or corrected, can I get a mover and a seconder to approve those as circulated, please? Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We've got the consent agenda in front of us. I don't have anything from council that wanted to be spoken to. Was there items that you wanted to speak to? Councillor Regan.
There was one. So I'm sorry, just for the process, I should be noting this first.
Yeah,
for the
if
meeting?
you just let
I'm sorry,
Tina.
that's on me.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine.
if I may then, okay, so 9.1, the letter from the OPP, I was just wondering if, I guess a question for our CAO, just perhaps clarity with respect to the review that they're have in place with respect to, and I'm assuming what I'm understanding is that just is how we're going to get billed. Because I know last time we got the bill, there was a bit of there's some assistance from the provincial government with that. I'm wondering if that's continuing, what it looks like, what you've heard, and what this review involves, and are we part of it, the review?
So through the mayor to Councillor Regan, yeah, you've exactly hit the nail on the head here. This is they're changing the model in which they bill. This always makes us a little nervous because usually this is not, I can say with a fair amount of certainty, our bill is not going down. We know what happened with their agreement that they have with their officers. That has now been settled with retroactive pay. We know what's happening with the cost of vehicles, with gasoline, price of fuel, all those things are going up. So we know the prices are going up. Are we expecting another subsidy, if you will, to bridge the gap? I don't know. This process will certainly shed some light on that. So we're hoping to get an invite in the next few days. It'll be sometime during the month of June, and we'll have more information for you, hopefully at the July meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ron. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Were there any other items that council had any questions on? Okay, and you will notice that there's the activity reports from both the CAO department and Public Works. I guess I would just look, was there anything that either one of you wanted to highlight? Or no? Oh, and EDC is on there. Was there anything, Lisa, you wanted to highlight or anything? No, okay. With that, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to accept those items for information, please. Councillor Westman and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Then we've also received, okay, no, so that's that. Okay, correspondence. We've got 2 items under correspondence. Didn't know if council wanted to speak to either one of those. If not, then if I can get a mover and a seconder to receive and file those items, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, committee reports, Blue Water,
No, nothing to report.
CEDC.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I've got a report tonight for council from the Tuesday, May 27th meeting. There is part of that too, if council wants to refer to the 9.11, there's an activity update there as well, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things for our meeting. It was a very exciting meeting, well attended. A couple of things, the neighborhood grant program with respect to sort of the neighborhood neighborhood activities. We had one of the a person, I think it was Butler Street, I think, had applied, and the committee had approved that. So this is just where people get together. So it's actually very exciting. A couple of projects that we talked about for downtown revitalization. The committee looked at a couple of plans for the parking lot that we have down beside between the Tide Pad and the post office, and that's coming soon. The community improvement plan update. There's a couple of projects I believe were completed. One was at the Tide Pad. And a sign, and Dairy Lovers was the other one. So they took advantage of that program. The banners are up. That we did, and most people have seen those already. The night markets have started. It's the last Friday of every month. And the other one was, I think, the last one we talked about, or Lisa told us about, was Meet Your Main Street Promotions. That I believe Madam Mayor is, and we're going through to different businesses and doing, I think, 30-second video clips, just highlighting business. And our next meeting will be June 24th. Thank you.
Any questions for Councillor Regan on that? Okay, thank you for that. Lake Huron, we meet on Thursday. Nothing from the fire boards. ABCA,
Nothing to report from ABCA.
Parks and Recreation.
We are meeting June 10th, and I'll have a report for council at the next meeting.
And I believe Trails has an upcoming meeting.
Yeah.
On the 12th. Perfect. Reports, nothing from Ron. We are joined online by Arnie Marsman, who will be delivering our quarterly report, our building quarterly report for 2025. So Arnie, it's great to see you online, and I will turn it over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, and I appreciate being welcomed electronically today. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it in person. I am here tonight, though, to present the first quarter building report for Lucan Biddulph, and I see we're in June, and this is the first quarter report. I hope to have the first half report to you in July, much quicker than this, but. Anyways, to summarize my report, so the first quarter of 2025 has been a great first quarter, especially in comparison with what we saw last year. In the first quarter last year, there was one new dwelling with about $1 million construction value, and this year we're at 7 new dwellings with construction value just over $4 million. And so the last half of last year was a good, busy second half, and that momentum has carried nicely into this year. And we are seeing that into April and May as well. So you'll be pleased with what you see for the first half when we get there. In my report, I have a couple tables summarizing, like we typically do, the types of permits and construction values that we're seeing in the different types of permits. So you see we had 3 singles, 4 townhouses, and the breakdown also for different types of construction and renovations. And the second table is a summary of fees and charges and construction value, sort of a summary, again, in comparison to what we saw in the first quarter of last year. So it's a very positive report, and Lucan and Middlesex Center, North Middlesex, we all have had a good first quarter. Nice to see that compared to what we saw last year. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
That's great. Thank you very much, Arnie. Appreciate that. Questions or comments on the tables that have been presented? You go. I know. My council does not have any questions on your report. However, they've got a couple bylaw questions. Would you be able to answer those? Would you be able to entertain those, even though they weren't part of your report?
Absolutely, Mayor. Happy to do that. And in my my mid-year report, I will bring a bylaw update to council as well of what we've been seeing.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Regan.
Are you sure the deputy mayor doesn't want to go first?
Thank you. So all I wanted to say is more of a comment, was that I did put in a complaint, concern about the 2 houses that were north and south of Jake's Place, because of they're untidy. I heard back from bylaw this morning, got a phone call, and it has been dealt with. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, and the system works. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thanks. Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up to Jeff or Ron, but since you're here, I'm curious what other municipalities do. Right just down from our office here, Chestnut and Main Street there's for sale signs, and the grass is going above the for sale signs, and it looks awful. I mean, I'll call it laziness for the people that are putting the signs up, because I don't think it's up to up to our municipality to pull them, whippersnip around the stop sign and then put them back in. I do believe the person at the corner would cut that and whippersnip that like they have in the past. Would it be a case where a municipality has the right just to simply pull the signs, or do we call the people? What would you recommend, or do you know what other municipalities do? Because it looks awful and it's right across from our arena.
Yeah, through the mayor to the deputy mayor. A couple responses. Certainly, if we have a complaint, we can approach really it's the responsibility of the property owner to maintain their frontage, including into the boulevard. And real estate signs generally are permitted without a lot of scrutiny of where they are in relation to an intersection or the grass. It's up to the property owner that abuts that frontage to take care of it, and they can pull the sign, whip the grass down, and put the sign back. We certainly can look into that, Deputy Mayor, and reach out to the owner of the property and remind them of the responsibilities to maintain their frontage.
Yeah, I got to say, that's really disappointing. So, yeah, because there's 4 signs there, like honestly, it'd be a bit of work for the homeowner to remove all 4 signs. There's 4 signs there between, for sale signs, and I just never seen it like that in my life here. And it's really bad. And by no means was I expecting that response. Is there anything that we can do then from a bylaw standpoint, or change something in our fines or anything that people putting the signs up? This is right around our stop signs. Like I would not have expected that it was that person's fault. I guess that person could pull the signs and throw them in the garbage. I guess that's what I'd do. So, yeah.
Yeah, and through the mayor to the deputy mayor, certainly a lot of people do that. If they're not supporters of a politician or real estate, and they're people putting signs in their front lawn, it seems, then people do pull those signs. Certainly, if they're too close to a stop sign, then that does raise some concerns for us, and we can reach out to those real estate agents. Real estate signs, like I said, are a little bit different than somebody advertising well drilling or painting services. They have a bit more freedom, but when it gets to an intersection, we don't want to block or interfere with a stop sign in any way. So we can take a look at that intersection.
Yeah, I think Jeff's going to comment on something. Okay, yeah, because again, Yeah, I'd feel bad for that homeowner well, they're all butted right around the stop sign, leaning against the stop sign is what they're doing. But anyways, okay, I think Jeff's gonna comment.
Yep, Jeff?
And through the mayor, I've noticed this as well, the spot. And my concern and again, Arnie's the expert on this, is I view some of these signs as temporary signs that go up to advertise a sale of a property. But you can tell by the length of the grass now that these signs are not temporary. So, Arnie, you know, and again, I don't really want to step outside my expertise, but can we pull these signs and keep them at, say, the Public Works garage? Because we believe that they're not temporary, that people have either forgot them or they're taking advantage of the system. And that if they call or if they want their sign back, we could, you know, we could tell them they could pick it up at the Public Works garage.
Yeah, and through the mayor to through the mayor to the group there. We certainly have the authority to pull a sign when we think there's a bylaw infraction. And you know, a sign can't last forever. It may be forgotten or maybe there's lots of reasons, but we certainly can reach out to the real estate agents and say it's long enough. If we really wanted to regulate it, we could update our sign bylaw and put 30-day limits on real estate signs potentially. But we can take a look at it, and certainly bylaw enforcement does have the authority to pull signs.
Okay, that's great. Appreciate that and appreciate you being able to answer those off the cuff questions. But no, thank you for joining us. And we do, I do think that the report that you delivered is a good news story. I think, the numbers are encouraging, and I think hopefully we're turning a corner and on a trend. So appreciate that. Certainly appreciate the work your department does for us, Arnie. So with that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Councillor Regan and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor, and that's carried. Thanks so much, Arnie. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Okay. Did you have anything verbal, Catherine? Nothing in planning. Public Works, Jeff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have one report, and it is about a topic. It's a report on a topic that with the urbanization of Main Street, going to the south of town, past the Tim Hortons out towards Old Clover. Council in the 2025 budget did indicate that they did support planning to take place in 2025, which we've started. We've already had 2 meetings with the MTO to try and lay out a plan to move forward with the urbanization. In those meetings, it came to light that the MTO is requesting, and for lack of a better term, a traffic impact study. The study would include pedestrian and cyclist traffic to be reviewed and brought forward in the form of an active transportation report or an active transportation needs report. Because this is not in the budget, I did ask Dylan to provide a scope of work to complete this report, and it came in at $13,500. Because it's not in the 2025 budget, I'm bringing it back to council to see if we want for the approval to move forward with it now. I know, and in the options, there is the option to delay it and talk about this at the budget time later in the fall. I'm supporting moving forward with this. I'm making the recommendation that we do move forward with this because I do know council, it is in the development charges. It is an urbanization of this stretch has been identified by council to move forward with. And I do know that the MTO, it'll take a long time to make this process move forward. So if we delay it another 6 months, it's not the end of the world, but it's just another 6 months on to the term that we'd have to deal with the MTO on this. So I know we're collecting money through the DCs on this. I know through discussion with Catherine that we do have the money in the DCs. It's the other 20%, the 27 2,700 or whatever, that I've got listed there, that would come out of the construction reserve, that I put forward. So I just wanted to make sure council was aware of that, and get direction to move forward.
Okay, thank you for that, Jeff. Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, Jeff, so as council knows and staff knows, I mean, I am concerned, obviously, any spending and projects that weren't planned, but with it only being $2,700 from the construction reserve, and it would be something if it was a higher value that I would want to proceed with, but potentially looking at budget impacts or what we could do to massage it or not proceed. So I want to make that comment with it being $2,700, that's won't be impactful, I don't believe. So I want to make that comment. I'm very, frustrated a little bit with this from MTO and again, bike and pedestrian traffic study. I don't know if it's the wording or terminology, but again, all you need is vision and common sense, right? Like it's sad. You take a picture of that area 10 years ago and you take a picture now and the build out of the subdivision and the 4-story apartment building, you can't walk because there is no sidewalk, and you can't bicycle really because how dangerous it is. You'd be better off going around the back of the subdivision the other way. So my concern is what the goal of getting this is, as opposed to the need of it. If I don't understand studies enough, I guess, because right now I guess unless you're walking on someone's property, almost you're not walking on the road there. So it is frustrating that they're asking for this. Were you as frustrated as I am when I read it?
Yeah, through the mayor. I think there's all a bit of frustration on this, because also if you add to the fact that the municipality is willing to pay for the upgrades and the urbanization, we see the need. We're willing to do the design, we're willing to do the work, and we're willing to finance it. But yet the MTO is still wanting evidence or some sort of documentation before they'll allow us to move forward with any design.
But the study really has to say why no one's walking on it and why no one's biking on it, I guess, because of how dangerous it is, I guess. But again, it is disappointing to have a consultant spending $13,000 when, again, just vision and common sense. We always talk about seeing people at these conferences. We should, misspending money should be on our list. And then we see these representatives, because we should just do a Google snapshot 10 years ago of that area and do one today and say, are you really kidding me?
Yeah, and Madam Mayor, if I could, I agree with the deputy mayor. And I would think Dillon Consulting also agrees with the deputy mayor that the hard part is the MTO is the one that's in charge. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we could follow option 2, put it off for further discussion, but at the same time, I don't know where that'll get us in 6 months.
Yeah, no, I'm not in favor of putting it off. It's very frustrating. And if we meet these folks again, I probably would bring it up. Thanks.
I think in one of the reports we do have a request in for AMO for MTO. So you'll have to watch this back and rehearse your speech for when we get the delegation. Councillor Regan.
So, no, I agree with the deputy mayor. I'm just wondering, I thought there was a traffic study done when that department building was being built. I'm almost positive there's already a traffic study. Like that would probably suffice, would it not?
So, and again, Madam Mayor, that's a good question, because there was a traffic study done on the volume of traffic in relation to the subdivision going in. The MTO is asking for pedestrian traffic and cyclists that are going to use this section of road, and what the prediction is in the future of how that's going to affect the highway. So it's a different, and again, I start off saying that for lack of a better term of traffic study, they're looking for the future prediction of what is going to happen here and how that's going to reflect on the highway. So the development looked at basically pure and simple traffic volume on Highway 4. This looks more at pedestrians, cyclists, and the impact it'll have on motorists using Highway 4.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hodgins.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I won't repeat some of the comments that were already made, but yeah, I'm in agreement with Deputy Mayor and Councillor Regan with some of the points there. I'm just wondering, from the meeting with the MTO, do we have any indication of a timeline from them of when this this project may potentially go ahead?
Yeah, and through the mayor, I guess the short answer is no. There is no indication. This is the indication how to start the process and how to begin the discussion. So once we get this in place, then we can decide whether they're going to allow us to design an urbanization for this section of road. So it's kind of like the door to the project opens with this. But no, I don't have any sort of idea on a schedule for where this urbanization will take place at this point.
I wouldn't want to suggest, but I do think that initial Zoom meeting that we had, like, I think we all left that meeting thinking that it was going to be years, like it was going to take a number of years to get this project done. So. Yeah. Sidewalks. Yeah.
It's just echoing, repeating your comment, I think it's a great opportunity to take this to, our delegation at AMO with the MTO, because they say one thing about getting projects done and, cutting red tape, and then we have this. So I think it's.
Yeah, I think our request for delegations is over, but, the reduction of red tape ministry, that's one that would be a good one to tap on the shoulder too, right? On this one. So there's a whole ministry devoted to that. So, to the deputy mayor's point, not about the money or the frustration, but I guess the scope of the project. Okay, so it's pedestrians and bikes, and I think we all know what that means. But it's Highway 4, and so then there's all these setbacks, and so in the end, even if it showed that there was going to be a need, is it actually something that we can do given the allowances that MTO requires? In the event that, because they made it clear. They made it clear to us. I think the deputy mayor in his meeting got a different sense that they likely won't entertain extending the connecting link, but how can they work with us? So if they're not going to extend the connecting link, then all of those allowances and setbacks will still be there. So can we actually urbanize it under their parameters?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, that's a good question. So I think the positive answer to that is when we had these meetings, there was never a discussion that urbanization could not be done within that section. So I think that's clear. And I think one of the things they want to see from this report is, one, is there a need? And again, there's maybe some frustration because I think if you just stood there and looked at what was there, you'd see the need. But two, the impact of what that's going to do to the highway. So if we know there's so many bicyclists going to be using this, if we know there's going to be kids walking to Tim Hortons, what is the impact to the motorists and to the highway of having them on the side of the road versus putting a sidewalk in? So I think once we can give to them the benefits of urbanization, and there's lots of other things, this is just the first step. We'll end up talking about drainage and that sort of thing. But I think that's what opens the door for them to say to us, okay, let's talk about design. I guess is where, so I think going back to your question, I think there is a positive look at it. Now, one of the questions I should say too, just so as we're talking about this, one of the comments that was made right at the start of these meetings is urbanization for development sake is not on the table. So one of the things that we have to talk about is this urbanization is not about further development. It's about development that's taking place around it already that we need to address. So for instance, the highway has already been, if you want to say, developed in that area. There's no further large, development, subdivisions coming. That was one of the things they made very clear in the meeting, that this urbanization is not meant for further development. It is meant to take in account what's already been developed.
So so I guess when we talk about urbanization, is it, and now when you say it's not for further development, so does it take into account like sanitary upgrades or anything like that? Or is this strictly just going to be sidewalks and lights?
No, again, through the mayor, we already have water main that we know we have to replace. Okay, so it's old water main, so there's going to be definitely water main included with this project. As part of sidewalks urbanization, you have to look at storm control, water control, and there is a need in that area for that. So it'll include storm. So then the last service becomes sanitary, and we know that there's septic systems in that area that are already, reaching their limit. And I think through environmental argument that I think it would only be prudent to put a sanitary line in this urbanization as part of the project.
Okay, any other discussion on the report in front of us? Okay, with that, can I get a mover and a seconder to receive that report and to direct staff to move forward with the active transportation needs report for Highway 4? Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's carried. Did you have anything further verbal, Jeff? Do you have anything verbal, Lisa? Okay. Other business. I think it's just the business arising on there. And what's that? Oh, there's no business arising. We're all done the business arising. We should acknowledge that. I don't think we've ever had a no business arising in front of us. Okay. So any notices of motion? Councillor comments? Councillor Regan.
Thank you. Just had just a quick question just for staff. It's just I noticed that the Hogtown property has a lease sign on. I wonder if the township is looking at opportunities to lease that space between now and the time they develop it, just for parking events. I don't know if that's something we were entertaining. And so like perhaps Lisa, I could ask Lisa or Ron.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I'm just gonna look at Lisa. I know we had a conversation last week about what was happening there, but I don't think I'm the right one to answer that question, so go ahead.
If council would like to direct staff to contact the owner and see opportunities, so we can certainly do that with direction from council.
Or could I put forward a motion? Or
You-
just direct staff to do
You
that?
sure you can? Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, if I can. Lisa did bring to my attention that there is an MLS listing on the site for commercial use
Okay.
with parking in the back. So, that is actively for sale and under
Oh,
development.
okay.
Yeah.
It's on MLS. Yeah.
Sorry, I think Councillor Regan was saying, in the meantime, maybe there's an opportunity. If they don't have, if they're not going to build in a year or two, something like that, maybe there was something that we could partner with them with, maybe.
Deputy Mayor.
Well, I certainly think with the building we just bought, that if we don't know yet what's gonna happen there, but if it's just gonna be a parking lot and we're looking for a parking lot, I know that one's more downtown, but I guess I'd be concerned with when the community's already bought a potential parking lot or something gonna go on there to proceed, as long as we know what we're doing with everything. But
Right.
it's for sale right now. I guess if it was coming from staff as opposed to a counselor, not in, no, I don't mean it like that. Like if staff was coming to us that there's a need, I don't think we're creating a need for it.
Yeah.
Like you're not creating a need, are you, for it?
No,
Yeah.
I do hear, sorry.
So, yeah, so just if I just feel it being, if Lisa was bringing it forward I would be, so that's why I'm not gonna be in favor of the motion. I just wanted to explain myself why I won't be in favor of the motion with the land we've purchased and not coming from staff.
I do, no, I do hear a concern on a regular basis about parking downtown. And I just thought it was an opportunity, like I said, again, an opportunity just to explore whether or not we could lease it or not. I do, and again, it is downtown. We're trying to promote our downtown. So I'm just, again, would hope to see, I mean, it doesn't mean we're going to, it's just that if there's an opportunity to lease it, if, you know, I'm not sure what they would, you know, rent it to us or however that would sort of work. But I think that would be an opportunity to be able to draw more people downtown. We're trying to promote the downtown. We're trying to get people down there. We still hear all the time about parking issues. So again, it's just one of those, again, to explore, just to explore the possibilities. I think I'd like to see staff, and we could ask staff to just look at the possibilities. I don't think there's any harm in that, so.
Okay, did you want to make a motion or, I mean, we can
Yeah.
just ask staff, I mean, they can bring a report back.
Yes, we
I
can
mean,
ask,
that's easy enough,
could we ask staff to bring a
Yep.
report back?
just on the possibilities.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
fine. Yep.
Please?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other councillor comments? Councillor Westman?
Yeah, I just wanted to promote a couple of local events. The Granton Volunteer Firefighters Smoked Pork Chop Barbecue will be held on June 14th at the Granton Fire Hall. It's a good little fundraiser. And the Villages United Church is having a strawberry and beef supper on the 18th. So tickets are available if you contact April Bryan in Granton for the church supper, and the any of the firefighters in Granton can provide tickets for the pork chop barbecue. Thank you.
Any other councillor comments? Okay, seeing none, we have two bylaws in front of us. And I would ask for a mover and a seconder that bylaws 25-2025 and 201, sorry, -2025 be read a first, second, and third and final time and be adopted. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Hodgins and Deputy Mayor Manders, all in favor? And that's carried. A reminder that our next meeting is on Monday, June the 16th at 6 p.m. So when this meeting adjourns, looking at my colleagues, put it in your phone and ask for a reminder 24 hours ahead of time so that we're all here on Monday, June the 16th. 6 o'clock, okay? And for our watching audience, it'll be a Monday night, okay? With that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to adjourn us at 8 minutes after 7. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. See you in a couple weeks.